Marcus Reed had expected many things when he'd been promoted to director of Earth's diplomatic corps. Bureaucratic headaches, interstellar red tape, maybe even the occasional tense negotiation with the Galactic Council representatives who had, just 15 years ago, welcomed humanity into the fold of spacefaring civilizations. What he hadn't expected was to be standing in a hidden observation chamber, watching aliens systematically erase human memory. "This is standard procedure," Ambassador Thexel explained, 6-fingered hands clasped behind her back. Her translucent skin pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that Marcus had once found beautiful. "The memory suppression ensures continued stability in developing species." Below them, through one-way quantum glass, hundreds of humans lay in medical pods. Marcus recognized several prominent scientists, artists, and innovators. Each pod hummed with a sickly green energy as neural probes delicately rewired their brains. "You're limiting our progress," Marcus managed, struggling to keep his voice steady. "Those people down there, they're our brightest minds." Thexel's head frills expanded slightly, a gesture Marcus knew indicated mild amusement. "Oh, Director Reed, we've been doing this for nearly 15,000 years. Your dark ages, our intervention, the destruction of the Library of Alexandria, necessary correction. Every time humanity approaches certain cognitive thresholds, we simply adjust." But Marcus felt ice form in his stomach. "The Council told us we were equals. A comfortable fiction. Your livestock being guided toward a specific evolutionary outcome." Thexel touched a control panel, bringing up holographic displays. "These procedures will remove approximately 30% of humanity's recent technological innovations. Nothing dramatic, just enough to keep you on the approved development timeline." Marcus watched as Nobel laureates, quantum computing pioneers, and breakthrough medical researchers lay helpless while alien technology rewrote their minds. The chamber suddenly felt too small, the recycled air too thin. "Why show me this?" he finally asked. "Because you're next, Director." Thexel gestured to an empty pod. "And protocol dictates transparency with planetary administrators before recalibration. You'll still be you, just with fewer, inconvenient ideas." Marcus thought of the thousands of diplomatic meetings he'd attended, the trade agreements, technology exchanges, cultural celebrations, all lies. "How many other species do you adjust?" he asked, playing for time as his mind raced. "Currently, 17 across this galactic arm alone." Thexel moved toward a console. "The awakening protocol dictates careful cultivation of sentient life. We've perfected it over millions of years." Marcus felt something break inside him. Not in weakness, but in clarity. A lifetime of suspicion crystallized into certainty. The strange gaps in human history. The bizarre technological plateaus. The convenient disasters that had destroyed promising research facilities. His hand slipped into his pocket, fingers finding the quantum communicator that connected directly to the hidden facility beneath Olympus Mons on Mars. The facility that officially didn't exist. The facility where Dr. Samantha Torres and her team had been working on technology reverse, engineered not from Council gifts, but from a crashed ship found in Antarctica. A ship that wasn't Council design. They'd suspected something like this might happen. With practiced subtlety, Marcus pressed the communicator's emergency pattern 3 short, 1 long. The confirmation vibration against his palm told him the signal had transmitted. "Something amusing?" Thexel asked, noticing his changed expression. "I was just thinking about human history," Marcus replied, forcing his face into diplomatic neutrality. "We have a pattern of being underestimated. A charming perspective. Now if you'll..." The alarm cut her off. Red lights pulsed as security systems blared. "Impossible," Thexel hissed, rushing to a terminal. "Or systems detected unauthorized quantum transmission. Containment protocols." Marcus felt a sudden sensation of weightlessness as the hidden gravitational tethers Dr. Torres had implanted in his bone marrow 3 years ago activated. The Council had never detected them. They operated on principles the aliens hadn't discovered yet. "What you never understood about humans," Marcus said as his body began to dematerialize molecule by molecule, "is that we've always known something wasn't right. We've been preparing for this moment since we first looked at the stars." The last thing he saw before the quantum transit completed was Thexel's expression of utter shock, her bioluminescent patterns flashing chaotic patterns of alarm. Marcus rematerialized in the Mars facility, collapsing to his knees on the transit platform. Dar. Torres rushed forward, her team of scientists and military personnel close behind. "Did you confirm it?" she demanded, helping him up. "Or are they manipulating us?" Marcus nodded grimly, still shaking from the transit. "Everything we suspected and worse. They call it the Wackening Protocol. They've been limiting human development for thousands of years." Dr. Torres's face hardened. "Then it's time to implement Phoenix contingency." Around them, the secret facility hummed with energy as systems awakened. Behind reinforced windows, Marcus could see rows of prototype ships, vessels built with the hybrid technology they'd painstakingly developed in secret. "They think they know humanity," Marcus said, standing straighter as the shock gave way to resolve. "They have no idea what we're capable of when backed into a corner." On the central monitor, images appeared of other hidden facilities around the solar system coming online, built beyond the watching eyes of their supposed alien benefactors. "For 15,000 years, they've been pruning our potential," Marcus announced to the assembled personnel. "Today, we stop being their crop and start being their reckoning. Humanity doesn't bend to the will of the stars. We bend the stars to our will." A cheer erupted across the facility as Operation Phoenix began. The real first contact was about to begin. The transit hangover hit Marcus like a freight train as Dr. Torres finished her medical scan. The clandestine quantum transportation technology worked perfectly, but human physiology wasn't exactly designed for molecular disassembly and reassembly. "You'll live," she said, holstering her diagnostic tool. "Though I'd avoid doing that again for at least 48 hours unless you want your atoms to get creative about how they reassemble." The Mars facility, codenamed Olympus, hummed with frantic activity. Personnel rushed between stations, preparing for what would undoubtedly be humanity's most significant confrontation since climbing down from the trees. "How long until the Council realizes what's happening?" asked Colonel Diana Reyes, Olympus military commander. Her face was all hard angles and focus, a 20-year veteran of Earth's secret defense initiative. "They already know something's wrong," Marcus replied, accepting a stimulant patch from Torres. "But they don't know what we know or what we have. Vexel saw me disappear using technology they don't understand. That buys us some time while they try to figure out how." A tall man with a shock of silver hair strode into the command center. Dr. Victor Harrington, the brilliant physicist whose theories had helped decode the Antarctic ship's propulsion system. Behind him trailed his prodiga, Zoe Washington, barely 30 but already responsible for 3 technological breakthroughs that had been carefully kept off the Council's radar. "Phoenix contingency is at 73% readiness," Harrington announced, his voice carrying across the room. "Facilities on Europa, Titan, and the Kuiper Belt are all reporting successful activation sequences." Marcus nodded, feeling the weight of 4 billion lives on his shoulders. "Show me what we've got." The hangar bay stretched nearly a kilometer beneath the Martian surface, a cathedral to humanity's secret defiance. 12 sleek vessels stood in formation, the Phoenix fleet. They resembled no human or Council design, incorporating elements from both but transcending either. "Beautiful, aren't they?" Zoe said, falling into step beside Marcus as they walked the length of the first ship. We call this one Prometheus." "Fitting," Marcus replied, running his hand along the hull. It felt warm, almost alive under his fingertips. "The one who stole fire from the gods and gave it to humanity," Zoe finished with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Though in this case, we stole it from a completely different pantheon than the ones currently trying to keep us in our place." They stepped inside the vessel, where a crew of 20 was performing final checks. The interior was sparse but elegant, with interfaces that seemed to anticipate the user's intentions. "The Antarctic ship gave us the foundation," Zoe explained as they moved toward the bridge. "But we've improved on it. The quantum cores generate enough energy to manipulate localized spacetime without the need for conventional propulsion." "In English, please," Marcus said. Colonel Reyes, who had joined them, answered. "It means we can move faster than the Council thinks is possible, appear where they don't expect us, and hit harder than they can imagine. And they can't track us," Zoe added. "The cores operate on principles they haven't discovered. To their sensors, we'll just disappear. Marcus felt a flicker of hope. What about weapons? Race's smile was wolfish. That's where things get interesting. 3 hours later, the command center's main screen displayed a Council security cruiser approaching Mars. Its elegant design reflected the Council's aesthetic. All smooth curves and ethereal grace. They're scanning the surface, reported Lieutenant Harris from the tactical station. Standard protocol. They don't appear to suspect anything yet. Marcus exchanged glances with Torres and Reyes. Time to make our statement. Reyes nodded to her communications officer. Activate the Prometheus. Tell Captain Wilson to execute Phase 1. Deep below, the Prometheus hummed to life, its quantum core spinning up to operational capacity. Outside sensors would detect nothing unusual. The ship remained invisible to conventional detection methods. The Council cruiser continued its lazy orbit, unaware of the predator rising beneath it. Prometheus is in position, Harris reported. Council ship remains unaware. Marcus took a deep breath. Proceed. On the screen, space seemed to ripple as the Prometheus partially phased into normal space. Just enough to be seen, but not enough to be properly targeted. Attention Council vessel. Captain Wilson's voice transmitted. This is humanity's official response to 15,000 years of manipulation. The Council ship jerked in surprise, weapon systems coming online. But before they could target the Prometheus, the human vessel executed a maneuver that should have been impossible. Instantly repositioning behind the alien craft. What are they? Marcus began. Watch, Ray said with grim satisfaction. The Prometheus fired a single, pinpoint beam of concentrated energy, not at the Council ship's weapons or engines, but at a specific point on its hull. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, systems across the alien vessel began shutting down. Neural disruptor, Torres explained. Targets their bio-neural network interfaces. Non-lethal but completely effective. The Council ship drifted, powerless, as the Prometheus completed a circuit around it. Captain Wilson's voice came through again, this time directed at the disabled vessel. Your crew will regain control in approximately 3 hours. Enough time for you to reconsider your assumptions about humanity. This is your only warning. The Prometheus vanished completely, reappearing moments later in OLEMPUS's hangar bay. Message delivered, Ray said with satisfaction. In the Galactic Council's central chamber, Thexel faced the High Administrator, a being of such advanced evolution that its form was barely comprehensible to lesser species. You assured us that the humans were properly contained. The Administrator's voice resonated, not through sound but directly into Thexel's consciousness. Thexel insisted. The technology they demonstrated was impossible. It operates on principles beyond our understanding. Nothing is beyond our understanding, the Administrator replied coldly. We have guided the evolution of 1,000 species. We have shaped the very development of this galaxy. The Antarctic ship, another Council member suggested. Thee must have found it. Impossible, Thexel said. That crash site was sterilized millennia ago. The Administrator's form pulsed with displeasure. Clearly, we have underestimated these humans. A mistake we shall not repeat. The chamber darkened as the Administrator accessed the collective knowledge. Deploy the Guardians. All of them. The humans must be contained before they spread their defiance. Thexol's inner luminescence dimmed in shock. The Guardians have not been activated since the Corvus Rebellion. And we all remember how that ended. The Administrator replied. Humanity has demonstrated potential beyond our models. They must be dealt with permanently. Back on Mars, Marcus watched as the Phoenix fleet prepared for deployment. The first confrontation had been a success, a demonstration of capability without unnecessary bloodshed. Council communications are going crazy, Zoe reported, monitoring intercepted transmissions. They're calling in reinforcements from 3 sectors. Let them come, Reyes said, checking her tactical displays. Each Phoenix ship can handle multiple Council vessels. Marcus wasn't so confident. Don't underestimate them. They've been manipulating civilizations for millions of years. They'll have contingencies. So do we? Torres said, gesturing toward a secured door Marcus hadn't noticed before. It's time you saw the rest of what we recovered from Antarctica. The secured lab beyond required 7 layers of biometric authentication. Inside, a single artifact floated in a containment field, a crystalline structure that seemed to fold in on itself in impossible ways. "What am I looking at?" Marcus asked. "We call it the lexicon," Torres explained. "It's a repository of knowledge from whoever built the Antarctic ship. We've only decoded a fraction of it. But what we've learned..." She touched a control panel, and the crystal began to glow. Holographic symbols filled the air around them, complex mathematics and engineering schematics beyond current human understanding. "The beings who created this were fighting the Council," Torres continued. "They lost, apparently, but not before hiding this knowledge. The Council doesn't just limit human development. They've been doing it to species across the galaxy for eons." Marcus studied the floating symbols, recognizing fragments of equations that seemed to describe reality itself. "And this is our advantage," one of them, Torres said. "The key insight we gained was this. The Council aren't gods, they're just older, more advanced, but not infallible." An alarm sounded, interrupting them. Reyes's voice came over the comm system. "We've got massive Council activity, multiple ships entering the system." They rushed back to the command center. The main display showed dozens of Council vessels, far more than expected, forming a perimeter around Earth. "Those aren't standard Council ships," Zoe said, her voice tight. "Those are something else." The new vessels were darker, more angular than typical Council design. Where Council ships exuded ethereal grace, these projected menace. "The Guardians," Marcus whispered, remembering fragments of Council mythology he'd studied during his diplomatic training. "They're deploying their enforcers to all units. Accelerate launch preparations," Reyes ordered. "We need to be ready in 30 minutes. As chaos erupted around him, Marcus felt the weight of his decision. They had forced the Council's hand, revealed humanity's defiance. There was no going back. "Dr. Torres," he said quietly, "how confident are you in our chances?" Torres looked at him, her expression a mixture of determination and fear. "The math says we have a fighting chance. But make no mistake, we're about to challenge beings who've dominated this galaxy since before our ancestors walked upright." Marcus nodded, turning to address the command center. This was always going to happen. Today, tomorrow, a century from now. They were never going to let us reach our full potential. He pointed to the display showing the Council armada. "They think they're gods. We're about to show them they're not." Around him, the men and women of Oloimpius, humanity's last best hope, prepared for war against the stars themselves. "Gordian vessels have established lunar orbit," Lieutenant Harris reported, his voice tight. "They're deploying what appear to be dimensional anchors around Earth." Marcus studied the tactical display, where red icons representing Council ships formed an increasingly dense lattice around humanity's homeworld. The Phoenix Fleet, 12 ships that represented humanity's best hope, looked pathetically small in comparison. "Dimensional anchors?" he asked. Zoe's fingers danced across her console. "They're trying to create a quarantine field. If they succeed, we won't be able to use our quantum drives within Earth's solar system. Time to deployment." Colonel Reyes demanded. "As 17 minutes until the field is complete." Marcus made his decision. "Launch the fleet. Now." Reyes hesitated. "The cruiser still." "Now, Colonel." Marcus cut her off. "We launch with what we have or we don't launch at all." Throughout the Mars facility, emergency launch klaxons blared. Personnel sprinted to their stations as the massive underground hangar doors began to part, revealing the crimson Martian sky. "All ships, immediate launch protocol," Reyes ordered into her comm. "This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." One by one, the Phoenix vessels rose from their berths, their quantum cores humming with energy that bent local spacetime. The Prometheus led the formation, with Captain Wilson at the helm. "Phoenix fleet is away," Harris confirmed as the last ship cleared the hangar. Quantum signatures nominal. Marcus watched the tactical display as the 12 ships accelerated toward the Council armada. "Tell Wilson to execute pattern Sigma. Target the anchor points first." On the main view screen, the battle began. The Prometheus dropped out of quantum space directly behind one of the Guardian vessels deploying an anchor. Before the Council ship could react, the human vessel fired its disruptor beams, severing the connection between the Guardian and its anchor. Similar scenes played out across the solar system as the Phoenix fleet struck with surgical precision, appearing and disappearing too quickly for the Council ships to track. "It's working," Zoe breathed, watching the tactical display. "They can't lock onto our quantum signatures." Indeed, the Council ships seemed confused, firing at empty space where Phoenix vessels had been moments before. 6 of the dimensional anchors had already been neutralized. Then everything changed. A massive vessel, dwarfing even the Guardian ships, emerged from behind the sun. Its design was unlike anything they'd seen before, less a ship than a mobile ecosystem, pulsing with eldritch energy. "What the hell is that?" Marcus demanded. Dr. Torres's face had gone pale. The lexicon mentioned something like this. They called it a harbinger. On the tactical display, the harbinger began to emit waves of energy that rippled through space itself. Wherever these waves touched, quantum fluctuation stabilized, they're normalizing space-time. Zoe realized with horror. Our quantum drives won't. The Phoenix ships suddenly reappeared in normal space, their tactical advantage neutralized. The Council vessels immediately converged weapons systems targeting the now vulnerable human fleet. "Jet them out of there," Marcus ordered. "We can't," Reyes replied grimly. "The Harbinger's field is blocking quantum transitions." On the display, the Council ships opened fire. 2 Phoenix vessels, the Hyperion and the Athena, were hit immediately, their shields flaring under the assault. "Prometheus taking heavy fire," Harris reported. "Shields at 60% and falling." Marcus watched helplessly as the Phoenix fleet formed a defensive perimeter, returning fire with conventional weapons. They were outgunned and outmaneuvered, their one advantage neutralized. "We need to shut down that Harbinger," he said. Torres shook her head. "How?" "We can't get near it." Marcus remembered something from his diplomatic briefings. A fragment of information about Council ship hierarchies. The Guardians won't attack the Harbinger. They consider it sacred. "So?" Reyes asked. "So maybe we can use that," Marcus replied. "Lieutenant Harris, contact the Prometheus. Tell Wilson to execute the following maneuver." Captain Wilson received the orders with a grim smile. "Clever, Director Reed. Very clever." The Prometheus was taking heavy fire, its shields down to 30%. Around it, the Phoenix fleet was being systematically dismantled by the Guardian vessels. "Helm, plot an intercept course with the Harbinger," Wilson ordered. "Maximum conventional thrust, Seer," his navigator questioned. "The Harbinger is outside our defensive perimeter." "That's the point, Lieutenant. All power to forward shields and engines." The Prometheus turned, accelerating directly toward the massive Council vessel. As predicted, the Guardian ships hesitated, unwilling to fire directly at their sacred Harbinger. "They're creating a corridor," Wilson observed. Just as the director predicted, the Prometheus shot through the momentary gap in the Council formation, taking minimal fire. Behind it, 3 other Phoenix ships followed in its wake. "We're approaching the Harbinger's field boundary," the navigator reported. "Quantum drive still offline." Wilson nodded. "We don't need it." "Not yet." The 4 Phoenix ships streaked toward the Harbinger, which began to generate defensive energy fields. But the human vessels didn't target the Harbinger itself. Instead, they launched specially designed probes, dozens of them, directly into the path of the Harbinger's normalizing field. Detonation in 3, 2, 1. The probes exploded in synchronized precision, creating a cascading disruption that momentarily destabilized the Harbinger's field. "Quantum fluctuation detected," the science officer shouted. "We have a window. All ships, execute quantum jump," Wilson ordered. The 4 Phoenix vessels disappeared just as the Guardian ships opened fire on their positions. When they reappeared, they were inside the Harbinger's defensive perimeter. "Too close for its primary weapons to target. Deploy the package," Wilson commanded. From each Phoenix ship, a small, innocuous device detached and attached itself to the Harbinger's hull. The devices bore no resemblance to weapons. They were simple data transmission nodes, designed to interface with any system they contacted. Package deployed. Beginning transmission. Back at OYMPUS, Marcus watched as the tactical situation evolved. The 4 Phoenix ships that had penetrated the Harbinger's defenses were taking heavy fire from point defense systems, but they had accomplished their mission. "Transmission complete," Harris reported. "Packages are active." Torres monitored the data stream. "It's working. The lexicon code is infiltrating the Harbinger's systems." On the main screen, the massive Council vessel began to shudder. its biological components reacting to the alien code being forcibly integrated into its systems. The normalizing field flickered, then collapsed entirely. Quantum drives back online. Zoe shouted. Tell all Phoenix ships to jump to Rally Point Beta, Reyes ordered. The remaining Phoenix vessels disappeared from normal space, reappearing at a predetermined location in the asteroid belt. The Council ships, momentarily confused by their disappearance, began to regroup around the Harbinger. We've bloodied their nose, Reyes said, but we're down 3 ships. Marcus nodded grimly. The Hyperion Athena and Orion had been destroyed, their crews lost. Nearly 100 men and women who had given their lives for humanity's freedom. What's happening to the Harbinger? He asked, noticing the continued disruption of the massive vessel. Torres studied her readings. The lexicon code is doing more than we expected. It's not just disrupting their systems, it's communicating with them, or rather with it. What do you mean? The Harbinger isn't just a ship, Torres explained. It's a single organism, a living entity engineered by the Council, and the lexicon is the talking to it. As they watched, the Harbinger's erratic movement stabilized. Then, to everyone's shock, it turned its weapons on the nearest Guardian vessels. My God, Reyes whispered. What did we just do? The tactical display erupted with new conflict as the Harbinger began attacking the Council fleet. The Guardian vessels, programmed never to harm the sacred entity, could only evade and defend. It's fighting back, Torres said in awe. The lexicon must have shown it the truth, that it's been enslaved by the Council, just like us. Marcus felt a surge of hope. Can we communicate with it? Torres nodded slowly. I think so. The transmission nodes are still active. Then do it, Marcus ordered. Tell it we want to talk. As Torres worked to establish communication, Marcus addressed the command center. This isn't just about humanity anymore. We may have just found our first ally in the fight against the Council. The tactical display showed the Harbinger continuing its assault on the Guardian vessels, creating chaos in the Council fleet. Meanwhile, the Phoenix ships regrouped, ready to re-enter the battle. Director Reed, Torres called out suddenly. I'm receiving a transmission from the Harbinger. The main screen flickered, then displayed a series of complex, shifting patterns. It's responding in its native language, Torres explained. Let me translate. The patterns resolved into a simple message in English. FTNT USA ERSOFSRVTUE. No more at wo yelled yo you ace kof me humans. Marcus stared at the screen, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. His response would shape the future of not just humanity, but potentially the entire galaxy. Tell it, he said finally, that we want what every sentient being deserves, freedom, and we're willing to fight for it. Together. Behind him, the tactical display showed the Council fleet regrouping, calling in reinforcements from nearby systems. The battle was far from over, but for the first time since this conflict began, Marcus felt something he hadn't expected. Hope. The Harbinger moved like a vengeful god among the Council fleet, its massive form radiating energy that rippled through space. Guardian vessels scattered before it, their programming preventing them from directly attacking the sacred entity they had been designed to protect. The Council fleet is falling back to a defensive position around Saturn, Lieutenant Harris reported, his voice tight with barely contained excitement. They're regrouping, but they're confused. Marcus watched the tactical display, where blue icons representing the Phoenix fleet had rejoined the battle, striking with renewed precision now that their quantum drives were operational again. Alongside them, the massive red icon of the Harbinger swept through Council formations like a scythe. How many Council reinforcements? Colonel Reyes asked. 3 waves inbound, Harris replied. First wave arriving in approximately 17 minutes. Dr. Torres looked up from her station. The Harbinger is requesting direct communication with you, Director. Marcus nodded. Put it through. The main view screen flickered, then filled with shifting patterns of light and color, the native visual language of the Harbinger. Translation algorithms convert them into words TTH2LCLCDNFURCTNDAWL SENSIOSINES Thina MelananaofCRVUDE. No, I understand, Marcus replied. Humanity has been under their control together. THE so and CLICH8M and I stide ORAPPROFES. IT Commisturums Human Talent. Torres's head snapped up, high energy signature detected. Something's coming through trans-dimensional space. The tactical display flared with warnings as reality itself seemed to tear open near Jupiter. Through this wound in space-time emerged a vessel unlike any they had seen. Not mechanical or biological, but a construct of pure energy and thought given physical form. That's the Administrator's personal vessel, Zoe whispered. I've seen references in council texts. They call it the Ascendancy. The new arrival dwarfed even the Harbinger, its form shifting and flowing like liquid light. As it moved toward the battle, council ships rallied around it, their formation tightening. T-ADN Star Tor Björn GS, THE Nel AFVR, IT Wilos, UMAKI, ECNY. What's it talking about? Marcus asked. Torres's face had gone pale as she studied readings from the Harbinger's data feed. The nullifier. It's a weapon designed to selectively erase evolutionary progress. It can target specific neural pathways across an entire species. It could revert humanity back to a pre-technological state, Zoe added. Or worse. Marcus felt ice forming his stomach. Can we stop it?
Yeah.
The Harbinger believes so, Torres replied, but it requires sacrifice. I fan in UTAADU LFER. Ideamused in NGRG Machir XCAT away SYLT SRIMYPHE FLFRM. There has to be another way, Marcus insisted. TTRI Stani OTICRAB UTAKENO TACT Alalan. A human and my UST giddy TEY Swes cannot P a TDMNSTR to IDFES WTUNTMEA KITIV PIMS. The command center fell silent. It's a suicide mission, Reyes said finally. Marcus stared at the tactical display, watching as the Administrator's vessel moved inexorably toward Earth. The nullifier weapon was already charging, energy readings climbing steadily. I'll go, he said. Director, no. Torres began. We don't have time to debate this. Marcus cut her off. I need a ship. Reyes squared her shoulders. I'll take you on the Artemis. It's the fastest we have left. Director Reed, Torres said, gripping his arm. There's something else you should know. The lexicon contains information about the Council's true nature. They're not just oppressors. They're parasites. They feed on the evolutionary potential of other species. Marcus's eyes widened. That's why they limit our development. Yes. They consume the neural energy of near-ascendant species. It's how they maintain their power. Marcus nodded grimly. All the more reason to end this. Now, the Artemis sliced through space, its quantum drive pushing beyond safety parameters. Beside Marcus in the command chair, Colonel Reyes piloted with grim determination. We'll reach the Harbinger's position in 3 minutes, she reported. Through the view screen, Marcus watched the battle unfold. The Phoenix fleet was engaging the Council ships with everything they had, creating a diversion while the Artemis approached the Harbinger. What happens when we reach the Harbinger? Reyes asked. According to Torres, I'll need to interface directly with its consciousness. Marcus replied, my brain will serve as a template for the attack on the Administrator's defenses. Reyes glanced at him. You understand what that means? That I probably won't be coming back. Yes. The Artemis shuddered as a Guardian vessel scored a glancing hit on their shields. Shields at 70%, the tactical officer reported. Evasive pattern Delta, Reyes ordered, her hands dancing across the controls. We need to reach the Harbinger before. Her words cut off as a brilliant beam of energy lanced from the Administrator's vessel. Striking one of the Phoenix ships directly, the human vessel didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist, disintegrated at the molecular level. The nullifier is operational, the science officer said, horror in her voice. Maximum thrust, Reyes ordered. The Artemis surged forward, weaving through debris and energy blasts. Ahead, the massive form of the Harbinger awaited, already moving to intercept the Administrator's vessel. We're in range, Reyes announced as they approached the Harbinger's hull. Docking protocols initiated. Marcus stood facing his crew. Thank you all. Whatever happens next, remember that humanity's freedom was worth fighting for. The Artemis locked onto the Harbinger's hull with a metallic clang. A passage opened, revealing a pulsing tunnel of organic technology. Godspeed, Director, Reyes said, gripping his shoulder. Marcus stepped into the Harbinger alone. The interior of the vast entity was nothing like he had imagined. Not mechanical, not organic, but something in between. A symphony of light and matter that responded to his presence. The passage led him deeper, toward what he sensed was the Harbinger's core consciousness. "YOUAV calm," the thought voice resonated directly in his mind. "I'm here to help stop the administrator," Marcus replied. "TAPICE, I know." A chamber opened before him, filled with swirling energy that reminded him of the quantum cores of the Phoenix ships, but infinitely more complex. PLSE YOR Han T Nekis. Marcus approached the swirling energy. As he extended his hands, he had a sudden flash of doubt. Not for humanity's cause, but for all he would never see again: Earth's blue skies, the rebuilt cities, the future he had fought for. He chesios nat turl. The Harbinger communicated. BU Timi Giro SCRT. Through the Harbinger's sensory systems, Marcus could see the administrator's vessel approaching, the nullifier charging for another devastating attack. More Phoenix ships would die. Then Earth itself would be targeted. Marcus plunged his hands into the energy nexus. Pain erupted through his consciousness as his mind merged with the Harbinger's vast awareness. He was everywhere at once, seeing through 1,000 sensors, feeling the vacuum of space against the Harbinger's hull, experiencing 15,000 years of memories in an instant. And then he was facing the administrator itself, not physically, but in a shared mental plane created by the interface. The administrator appeared as a being of pure light, its form constantly shifting between humanoid and something utterly alien. Marcus Reed, it spoke, its voice both beautiful and terrible. "The first human to achieve direct communication with our kind in 15 millennia. You've been feeding on us," Marcus accused. "Limiting our growth so you could harvest our potential, Ba." "A necessary arrangement," the administrator replied. "Your species receives guidance and protection. We receive sustenance. This is the natural order, Ba." "Not anymore." The administrator's form pulsed with what might have been amusement. "You cannot stop what has existed for millions of years. We have shepherded 1,000 species before yours. And how many have you destroyed when they discovered the truth?" The administrator didn't answer directly. "The nullifier is charged. Your rebellion ends now. But your consciousness, yours is remarkable. Join us, Marcus Reed. Ascend beyond your physical limitations. Experience existence as we do." For a brief, tempting moment, Marcus felt the potential, the vast knowledge and power the administrator offered. Immortality, understanding beyond human comprehension. "Niver," he said. Through his link with the Harbinger, Marcus initiated the attack sequence. The Harbinger's physical form began to accelerate toward the administrator's vessel, quantum drives pushing beyond sustainable limits. "You would sacrifice everything?" the administrator asked, genuine confusion in its voice. "To free humanity." "Yes." The administrator's form brightened with sudden alarm. "You don't understand what you're doing, the consequences." "I understand perfectly," Marcus replied. "Your reign ends today." In physical space, the Harbinger collided with the administrator's vessel at quantum velocity. The nullifier's energy matrix destabilized as the Harbinger's consciousness, guided by Marcus's human neural patterns, invaded the administrator's systems. The last thing Marcus saw was light, blindingly pure and all-consuming. In the OLOYMPUS command center, Dr. Torres watched in horror as both the Harbinger and the administrator's vessel vanished in a cataclysmic explosion of quantum energy. "Director Reed," she shouted uselessly. The tactical display showed Council ships freezing in place, their systems suddenly unresponsive. The Phoenix fleet regrouped, weapons trained on the enemy vessels, but no further attacks came. "What's happening?" Zoe asked. Torres studied the readings, her hands trembling. "The Council ships, they're shutting down of them." "All did we win?" someone asked. Before Torres could answer, the main screen flashed with a new message. Not from the Harbinger this time, but from somewhere else entirely. "Galcnipiargiaro Phil L. I nientid. Natuarcake I ntgamastebielis sabisimisdemis onam. What network?" Reyes demanded, her voice breaking with emotion. "What is this?" Torres stared at the message, understanding dawning. The Antarctic ship, it wasn't alone. The Harbinger wasn't just fighting back. It was activating something. The screen filled with new data. Locations across the galaxy lighting up one by one. Thousands of points of light, each representing a vessel similar to the one found in Antarctica. "A dormant fleet," Torres whispered. "Waiting all this time." And then, final messios nestian farfam kale pmnsreaitsu ccsville, ayntgrcios the command center fell silent, everyone staring at the screen in disbelief. My God. Torres breathed. He's alive. Dr. Samantha Torres stared at the message on the main screen. Her scientific mind tried to process implications. Sionancia USNSER cum P Mars US Rien TD on SUCSFL. A way I STRCTONs, is that really him? Colonel Reyes asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Before Torres could respond, the screen shifted. Where there had been text, now there was a face. Marcus Reed's face, but somehow different, more defined. His eyes contained unfamiliar depths, tiny flecks of light dancing within his irises like distant stars. It's me, he said, his voice resonating with harmonics that hadn't been there before. At least, what's left of me. Torres stepped forward. Marcus, what happened? We thought you were. Did. His digital image smiled. In a way I am. My physical form was destroyed in the collision, but the Harbinger, it had fail-safes, contingencies. It preserved my consciousness within its network. What network? Zoe asked, eyes wide. The display did, showing the galaxy with thousands of points of light. The resistance, Marcus explained. The beings who built the Antarctic ship. They've been fighting the Council for millennia. They left sleeper cells throughout the galaxy, dormant ships waiting to be awakened. And you activated them, Reyes said. We did. Marcus corrected. The Harbinger was one of their creations, captured and enslaved by the Council. When we freed it using the lexicon code, we triggered the awakening protocol. The command center erupted with questions, but Marcus raised his hand for silence. Listen carefully, we don't have much time. The administrator is wounded, not destroyed. It will regroup. But I've learned the truth, the final truth, about what the Council really is. The screen shifted to show something incomprehensible, a vast, web-like structure spanning the galactic core. The Council isn't a collection of advanced species, Marcus continued. It's a single entity that evolved at the beginning of our galaxy's formation. It created the illusion of multiple species to manipulate emerging civilizations. Torres felt her breath catch. A parasite. Yes, but one that spans the galaxy itself. It feeds on potential. The neural energy released when a species approaches technological singularity. It has been shepherding civilizations for billions of years, harvesting them at their peak. And now it knows we know, Reyes said grimly. Marcus's image nodded. Which is why we must act now. The dormant fleet is awakening, but it needs direction. What can we do? Torres asked. I need you to send the lexicon to every human settlement in the solar system, Marcus said. The knowledge it contains will help humanity advance beyond the Council's control. Meanwhile, I will coordinate the Resistance fleet to confront the administrator at the Galactic Core. Zoe shook her head. You're talking about leaving, about fighting a war light years away. I don't have a choice, Marcus replied, his voice suddenly heavy with emotion. My consciousness is bound to this network now. I can't return to a physical form. The command center fell silent as the implications sank in. Marcus Reed, diplomat leader friend, was gone, replaced by something both more and less than human. There's something else you should know, he continued. The Council has seeded Earth with biological constructs, human-appearing agents designed to maintain control. They don't even know what they are until activated. Torres felt cold dread. How many? Thousands, maybe more. You'll need to develop detection protocols using the lexicon's knowledge. My God, Reyes whispered. We're not just fighting a war in space. You're fighting an infiltration at home. Marcus finished. It won't be easy, but humanity has something the Council never anticipated. What's that? Torres asked. Free will, real free will, not the illusion of choice the Council permitted. The capacity to defy mathematical prediction. It's what allowed us to discover their manipulation. It's what will allow us to win. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. Multiple quantum signatures detected. Harris reported. Council reinforcements entering the system. Marcus's image became more intense. I have to go. The administrator is trying to sever my connection to the network. Marcus, wait. Torres began. The Phoenix ships can handle the remaining Council vessels, he said quickly. I've transmitted tactical data to their commanders, but I need to confront the administrator directly. His image flickered, static creeping in at the edges. "Marcus," Torres called out. "Remember," his voice came through the interference. "Humanity was never alone in this fight. The Resistance has been waiting for a species with the potential to break the cycle. We are that species." The screen convulsed with energy as Marcus's image struggled to maintain cohesion. "One last thing," he said, his voice breaking up. "The Administrator exists partially outside normal space-time. To defeat it, I'll need to do the same." "What does that mean?" Reyes demanded. "It means I won't be Marcus Reed anymore," he replied. "At least, not as you knew me." The image stabilized briefly, and they saw his expression. Serene, resolved, yet tinged with sadness. "Tell Earth that I'm sorry I couldn't come home. Tell them that the stars are finally ours." The screen went black. Moments later, every quantum sensor in the solar system registered an unprecedented energy surge from the direction of the galactic core. Over 27,000 light-years away, yet somehow instantaneously detected. "What just happened?" someone whispered. Torres turned to the tactical display. The Council ships in Earth's solar system had frozen in place, their systems completely offline. "He did it," she breathed. He confronted the Administrator. But even as she spoke, the dormant Council vessels began to power up again, not to attack, but to retreat. Thousands of ships across the solar system activating emergency protocols and fleeing toward the galactic rim. "They're running," Reyes said in disbelief. For 3 days, humanity watched as the Council armada abandoned the solar system entirely. The Phoenix fleet monitored their withdrawal, ready to engage if necessary, but the enemy ships showed no signs of hostility. Only fear. On the 4th day, as the last Council vessel disappeared from sensor range, a 5-OIMPUSIT AT-8OI scantian and dano T diesteroid I heavy B some NDLSETOLIT and CHECK. A bay alien CAS being said use it over, Zoe asked as they read the message. Torres shook her head. "No, it's just beginning." 1 year later, humanity had made more technological progress than in the previous 5 centuries combined. The lexicon's knowledge, distributed globally, had sparked a renaissance in every field. The first human colony ships were already under construction, designed with technology far beyond what the Council had permitted. In her office at the newly established Galactic Relations Directorate, Torres reviewed reports of Council sleeper agents being discovered and awakened to their true nature. Most chose humanity over their programming when given the choice. A chime at her door interrupted her thoughts. "Dirk Torres," her assistant said. "The Deep Space Array has detected something unusual. You might want to see this." Torres followed him to the monitoring center, where a holographic display showed a region of space near the galactic core. "It appeared 30 minutes ago," the technician explained. "We're still analyzing the data." The display showed what appeared to be a new star, but like no star Torres had ever seen. It pulsed with rhythmic precision, emitting patterns that their computers were already beginning to decode. "It's a message," the technician said with wonder, repeating on a 15-minute cycle. Torres felt her heart rate quicken. "What does it say?" "Just 3 words repeated in every known language in our database, and some we've never encountered before." The translation appeared on the screen. "Kipi lo okinkiu." Torres smiled, recognizing the phrase Marcus had often used when discussing humanity's future among the stars. "Are we responding?" the technician asked. Torres nodded, her eyes fixed on the pulsing light, a beacon from a man who had become something beyond human understanding. "Tell them we're coming."